We are going through exercise 13a, and in this video I'm going through question 7, in which we have to simplify each of the following. Now the very first thing you should notice is that I have negative bases in this question, negative bases. So how does that change things? So let's come down here where I've just taken something from the textbook, which is about working with a negative base. Now when we're working with a negative base, we need to check if our power, we need to check if our power is even or odd. So here we have down here, if our power is even and we have a negative base, I'm going to get a positive answer. But if my power is odd and I'm working with a negative base, my answer is going to be negative. So keeping that in the back of our mind, let's now answer these questions. So as you can see, I have a negative base, but I have an even power. So what does that mean? Well, it means that my answer is going to be positive. So even though this is a negative here, I'm really just going to be asking myself, what's 2 raised to the power of 6? So it's negative 2 raised to 6, but because this is an even power, it's simply 2 to the power of 6, which is 64. That's how you should think about it. Let's now move on to our next question. Here I have a negative base again, but my power is odd, which means my answer is going to be negative. I'm hoping I don't get mixed up when I say even, odd, negative, positive. But what your answer to this one's going to be, because I have because I have an odd power, it's going to be a negative answer. So it's going to be negative 27, because that's 3 cubed, and then a cubed as well. Now, because this is a smaller number, 6 is a bit unwieldy, but I can show you why this is the case. So if we were to write this out, it's going to be negative 3a times negative 3a times negative 3a. Now, we know that when we multiply two negative numbers, the negative goes away. But because there's an odd amount of terms here, this right here, this negative, means that the whole thing is negative. If, however, I was to add another one, negative 3a, so now what would this be? This would be negative 3a raised to the 4. So now notice that I have a even power. Well, in this case now, these negatives would go away, and my entire answer would be positive. So that's why there's that difference between having an odd power and an even power, and something you need to take into consideration. So let's now rub this out, and I will highlight this. That is my answer. Let's quickly now answer this last one. So I have a negative base. I have an odd power. So it's going to be negative 32a5 times 3a negative 2. Notice that this negative 2 isn't outside brackets. It's just over that a. I can now fix this up a little bit. It's going to be negative 32a5 over. Now, what I'm going to do, times 3. Now, I want to make this a positive, so I'm going to bring that down to my denominator. Now, 32 times 3 is going to be 96 minus 96a5 over a squared, which is going to be equal to minus 96. So now I'm using my second index law, which tells me I subtract these indices. 5 minus 2 is a3. And that is going to be my answer, minus 96a cubed. Hopefully this was helpful.